Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 173 of a year of change. Today I'm sort of a week behind where I should be. Last week there was a study that was done. I'm sort of diving right into it. Like, hello, how are you? Big small talk and small chat. Small talk. I'm actually going to talk about something that came out last week. Yes, during the weekend-ish anyway. Last week, on the 4th or the 5th, there was a study that was released, and it was in regards to bariatric surgery. Now, I've been fairly vocal about bariatric surgery. I don't feel that it's something that I'm willing to do. I've always looked at it as, because there are so many dietary changes that you have to go through before you start it. You have to lose a certain amount of weight, which means that, you're already doing what you need to do. And then all the complications that can arise from it, even just health and mental and everything else. And then you've changed your entire diet forever afterwards. There's no denying that it does work for a lot of people, but it was one of those things that I thought if I have to do all that anyway, then I might as well do that and skip the surgery part and see where it can take me. But the good thing about science stuff is that how sciencey is that? The good thing about science is that when you're shown that whether it's a theory or whether it's just a belief or whether it's a hypothesis that you have, when you're shown that that is incorrect, and that when you're shown proof that no, there's much more to it than that, and it's there are other things that will contribute to it. When you're shown that you're wrong, you still feel good because you've at least learned something. And that's what this study has sort of done. Basically what they've done is they took 60 people, and the study itself is actually done in a journal called The Lancet. I'm going to put a link in the description below. There's the news story, and then there's the article itself from the National Library of Medicine. But as luck would have it, The Lancet allows you to go in and actually look at the study itself. So we have the actual study, so I'll put that down below as well. Basically, what they did, they took 60 patients, I think they were aged 30 to 60, and assigned 20 of them bariatric surgery, assigned 20 of them another surgery, which I can't remember the name of. It's like duodenal thing, biliopancreatic diversion. I think that might be wrong. Anyway. They had just regular bariatric surgery. There was another type of surgery, and then they assigned 20 more people to just have regular, the standard treatment for diabetes. All right, so all 60 of these people had type 2 diabetes. What they found is they had them do the surgery, or they had them do the regular bariatric surgery, or they had them do regular medicine, that sort of the traditional medicine that we use now. Not like crystals and wands and incense and shit. I mean, actual medicine. And then they came back to them 5 years later. What they found is that they weren't able to get all 60 people. They were able to get some of them. But out of the people who had bariatric surgery, out of the 20 that had those, 7 of them, and I think it was 12 of... No, that doesn't sound right. Anyway, yeah, there were 19 people that they were able to get a hold of who had bariatric surgery. Out of those, 7 of them had actually gone into remission. And same with the other surgery group. There were a large number of those people. I can't remember the exact number of those. But overall, I think it turns out to over half of them actually went into remission. Now, what this means basically is that 5 years after the surgery, their type 2 diabetes was gone. It was actually, for lack of a better term, it was cured by the surgery. And now, just to sort of compare, because they sort of had a larger group, it's a fairly small group to begin with. It's only 60 people, but it's enough that it warrants a little bit of interest anyway. That the surgery people, there were, I'm going to say half, and I don't think it is, but you'll be able to see the numbers. There's a fair number of them, enough to be, scientifically interesting, have completely gotten rid of their type 2 diabetes. as opposed to the people who were going through traditional medicine, whether it's metformin or insulin shots or whatever it is that they had, none of them. They're all still treating their diabetes. So it's an ongoing thing. So now they're sort of looking at this going, this warrants further study. So although I've been, fairly straightforward with, I don't think bariatric surgery is for me. I find that it's sort of an unnecessary thing that we have to do that anyway. So, why go through the surgery part of it? But I was wrong. Here we go. Here's another portion of that that they've looked at now, that there's a much better chance of actually getting rid, if you have type 2 diabetes, of actually getting rid of it on top of losing the weight. And they said that it's not simply a matter of just cutting back on the sugar and maintaining that the blood sugar level. They said it's much easier, I guess, because of how the stomach is rerouted during surgery. I don't think this is just a matter of like a surgery band to shrink the stomach. I assume this is more of a bypass thing. There's 2 or 3 different types of bariatric surgery that you can go through. But it was one of those things that, they simply just do not have diabetes anymore, which is a very, very good thing. So now, of course, in the UK anyway, they're looking at saying, okay, this needs now to be made available so that, because if it can cure a disease, then yes, it should be really covered. So I'm assuming they're going to start doing more studies and looking at it that way, and hopefully, in the long term, what you would assume would end up happening is that if they find that this is something that, type 2 diabetes is just rampant. Everybody has. I haven't been tested, so I can't say that I don't have it, but I don't have issues with sugar and things like that. So I don't think anyway. If I eat too much, I get sick, but I think everybody does. I could have it. I don't know. I've never been tested for it. Anyway, getting off track. You would think that if it turns out that this is something that they are doing more follow-up tests. These tests were 5 years. After they had the surgery as well. So this isn't simply a matter of going, oh, look, we didn't find any trace of it. This is, long term. It's completely gone. So for something like this, you would think that, okay, if we find out that this is something that can get rid of diabetes in 50% of the cases, then maybe it'll cut down the cost. That seems to be a major thing. It is major surgery, and in the U.S., none of your shit is covered. But in Canada, the bariatric surgery, I don't believe, is covered. I think it's one of those things that you need to save up your thousands of dollars to go and get done. Because it's seen, right now anyway, it's not seen as a medical need, although it does help. So I would imagine that if they do find that this is now cutting out 50% of diabetes with people that have it, then yes, most likely, because the cost of maintaining the drug therapies and everything else is much, much higher than a one-time surgery. So I would imagine that they would switch things over and say, okay, yes, it's now covered, so that people can get it more readily, and they'll be able to go in, get things taken care of. And here in Canada, we can go in, get everything done, stay a couple of days in the hospital, and then come home, and we don't pay anything, which is great. So I'm hoping that that's where this is leading. I'm maybe jumping ahead a few years, but something like this is promising enough that it's, it warrants further study in there. So what I will do is, as I say, I'm going to put the original story that I found from the BBC. I'm going to put that down in the description, along with sort of a more, what's the word I'm looking for? Science-y article from the National Institute of Health, from their library. And then I'm actually going to put in the full study from the Lancet in there, and that will give you all the numbers that you need. The percentage of people that were, or the number of people that were involved, and how many went for each type of surgery, how many were in full remission 5 years later. The thing is, I guess, that really sort of stands out with this, sorry, is that the people that were doing the traditional therapy that we do now, with injections or pills or whatever it is that you do for your diabetes, they all still had it 5 years down the road. None of them had gone into remission. So I think that does say that there is something to this. It's a very, very small subset or sample of patients. Originally it was only 60. And then there 40 of those had surgery and 20 of them didn't. And then out of those 40, I think they were only able to get 38 back, that they could follow up with. So those other 2 people very well may still have it. But even that, it's, when you're looking at a significant portion of it, like there's over a third in each category at least, that are just completely, they're done. They don't have diabetes at all. I think that's worth looking into a little bit further. So, and I think that they are as well. So hopefully they'll take a look at it. But for those of you out there that are looking at bariatric surgery, if it is something that is sort of a, the majority of the time I would assume it's sort of a last-ditch effort. That you've tried everything, and this is sort of your last resort. Say, if I don't do this, something, I'm going to die, which is usually what ends up happening with something like this. Go up and take a look. And if you do have diabetes as well, type 2 diabetes, I should clarify. It's just type 2 that they were looking at. It's not going to change whether or not it's covered or anything like that. But when you're talking to your doctor, because you go in for consultations and everything else, bring this up to them and see what their opinion is on it, because their opinion is going to be worth much more than mine. I just find this interesting. I'm not saying, well, then, yes, you should definitely go in for bariatric surgery. I'm all dry. It's one of those things that, for me, is just medically and scientifically interesting. Like I would watch a surgery on TV. I have no idea what I wouldn't start poking around in there and just going, oh, this is neat. What do these do? Poke, 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 and start pulling things out and yanking them out. It's like sort of, tearing apart your computer. You just say, well, this is interesting. You start pulling parts out, and then you can't put it back together again. So for something like this, though, go up, take a look. And if you are in the midst of consultations and getting prepared for it, things like that, bring this to their attention and just see, if what their opinion is of it. They may look at it and say, it's too small. It's not really statistically significant to look at it. But at the very least, it could be interesting. And, they may know more about it than, well, they guarantee you they're going to know more about it than I do. Especially if they're going through this, they're probably already aware of it. But, it can't hurt to bring it up. Any additional information, whether it's good or bad, is good. How does that sound? Because it's new information. And again, one of those things that I wouldn't say that I would say, okay, this is what you need to do now. If you have diabetes and you're fat, then yes, go get bariatric surgery. Because again, it's going to be different for everybody. It's just one of those things that I would, just because of this study, I'm now sort of leaning away from being as adverse to that as I was before. That makes sense. Basically, just before, it was one of those things that I would say, I understand that, it is one of those things that people need to do. It's just not for me. But now it would be one of those things that, they've tried everything and they're doing the best that they can. It's still not quite working out. Then I'm sort of tipping a little bit more towards the surgery thing, mainly because of this. Because, if you can cure a disease with it as well, then yes, definitely. It's something that people should look at, I think, anyway. But anyway, it's very interesting, so I'm going to put those links down below so that you can take a look at them. I'm going to keep this one fairly short because I've been going over and over and over very, 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 very long times in videos, so I'm going to try to cut this off a little bit. I'm going to try to, I keep saying that. I keep saying I'm going to shorten these out, and then I end up going, all right, 10 minutes here, 12 minutes there, and then 6 hours of yammering on and repeating myself over and over and over again. I'm hoping that you're going to get used to it by now. It's been almost 6 months of me just babbling on and saying the same thing over and over and over. It's like the ending of The Lord of the Rings, just 5 endings right in a row. Don't get me wrong, I love the movies. I have the big 4-hour-long editions. I've watched it multiple times. But there are quite a few endings to it. Anyway, I've made some enemies now. Anyway, I'm going to leave this one here. You have all the information that you need, so go take a look at it. You can read the study if you want. It's just sort of a PDF, but they have it just available to you on the Lancet website. So I'll put a link in there as well in case you really want to sort of delve into it and print it off and take it to your doctor and go, look, information, new stuff, diabetes. Because at the very least, it's just very, very, very interesting. And even if you don't have diabetes or if you're not contemplating bariatric surgery, it's just interesting information to look up as well. So those might be in the news article ones to take a look at it. The news article one, by the way, they just show pictures of fat bellies throughout the thing, which is kind of weird. But again, it needs to sort of grab your eye and go, ooh, fat people, and then you click on it and go from there. So anyway, I'm going to leave this video here. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.